Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to call to order the March 19th meeting of BMC's Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Group, or I said BRTB's Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Group. At this point, I'm Eric Lashinsky, and I'm the chair. I'd like to ask Charlene to take the roll call.
Great. Well, start with City of Annapolis.
Present, and Will, my colleague, is here as well.
Present.
Anne Arundel County.
Tanya Asman, Office of Transportation, Senior Planner, present.
Thank you. Baltimore City said they're not able to make it today. Baltimore County.
Hi, Jessie Bialik here, Baltimore County.
Carroll County.
Hi, Claire Stewart here with Carroll County.
Hartford County. Howard County.
Hi, Chris Each office here from Howard County.
Queen Anne's County.
Pat Smith may be here also. I'm not sure.
Oh, sorry.
I'm here.
Pat's here.
And then we've got Queen Anne's County.
Here.
Maryland Department of the Environment.
Here.
Maryland Department of Planning. MHSO.
Hey everybody, Cynthia Spriggs from the Highway Safety Office.
Thanks. MDOT-MTA.
Brittany Sink here, Maryland Transit Administration.
MDOT-SHA. And then MDOT-TSO.
Hi, Francine Waters here.
Thank you. And do we have any guests today who'd like to introduce themselves?
Hi, Deborah Price, Baltimore County. I'm here today.
Thank you.
All right. Well, the minutes from the last meeting were sent out before this, so let's go ahead and do an approval of the minutes. I could just get well, actually, are there any comments on the minutes?
We did not receive any emailed comments.
Okay. Well, hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the minutes, please, from somebody?
Queen Anne's County will make a motion to approve the minutes.
Baltimore City seconds the motion.
All right. I'd just like to ask for a show of ayes and nays to approve the minutes. Aye.
Hi.
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 Aye.
Okay. Motion passes. Now I'm going to hand things over to Charlene. We have an election on our hands.
Right. So we're doing this a little different this year. Unfortunately, I forgot. We should have had our elections in January. So I did email about it, but we didn't get a ton of responses. So we're just going to do the elections of officers today. So let's see. So the slate of officers currently includes the current chair, Eric Lashinsky of City of Annapolis, and then Vice Chair Steve Cahoon of Queen Anne's County, who are eligible for a second one-year term in those positions. So I wanted to see at this time if there are any additional nominations from the floor. Okay. As there are no additional nominations, I will ask for those in support of Eric Lashinsky for chair to say aye.
Hi.
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 Aye.
And anyone opposed to say nay. Okay. And then I ask for anyone who supports C. Cahoon as vice chair to say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Hi.
And any of those who oppose to say nay. Okay, great. Well, thank you, Eric and Steve, for serving as chair and vice chair this year. We really appreciate it. Happy
to do it. Thanks, everybody. At least for another year.
Yes.
So that gets us through the procedural stuff of our meeting. we have a few presentations as usual. So I'm happy to introduce the first of them. We have Tyler Smith here from Baltimore City DOT, involved with the dockless vehicle program there. So Charlene, are you sharing a presentation for Tyler?
I think Tyler's got to, are you able to share?
Yeah, I'm going to attempt that. Zoom is not
Different
my,
from Zoom, yeah.
yeah. So do you have a full screen now, or do I need to change my display settings?
Yeah, looks good.
Looks good.
Okay, great. So hello, thank you, everyone. I am the Baltimore City Department of Transportation Dockless Vehicle Program Manager, and I just put together, or rather cut and pasted from other presentations, just sort of like a general how our program runs, what it does presentation. I am fine with people piping in with questions while I'm presenting, but if it comes in on the chat, I might not notice it. So that is what I would ask Charlene or Eric to help with if you see that. Suffice to say, don't feel like you have to hold questions till the end. Happy for you to pop in when I'm talking about the topic. So a little bit about me. I am 7 months into this position. I am from Baltimore City, studied economics and political science, and then quickly got off my nonprofit career into a more hands-on type career working for one company, Washington Express, as a bike courier. And then several of my courier colleagues moved to Capital Bike Share, which offered benefits and a union job, which is very attractive to someone who was independent contractor. So I moved to Capital Bike Share and spent a decade there working my way up from field bike mechanic to the manager of that department. Later worked on installing the bike share stations themselves and then leading the team that did that, as well as the team that took care of the bike share stations. In that career, I did over 45,000 bike inspections myself. Also wrote how to do it for the company, as well as a couple other training materials. And then I worked with a lot of transportation officials in terms of like siting the stations and setting up the installation of bike share stations in Washington, D.C. area. We put in over 200 in my career there. And also here in Baltimore, I'm a Baltimore Bike Party volunteer. You'll see me in the back in that same red shirt, orange high-vis shirt that is, helping people with flats. So this is an image of the spin vehicles superimposed on top of the Lime vehicles in the city of Baltimore. And it shows you kind of the geographic distribution of the vehicles in a snapshot. The purpose of our program is to set clear expectations for our operators and then hold them to those expectations, to grow and standardize the access program, which is a program for low-income residents where they can ride the vehicles at least a 70% discount. Make sure that the whole fleet is operable and safe, which is what I consider to be my wheelhouse given my inspections background. Make sure there are transportation alternatives to the entire city of Baltimore and that the vehicles are not just completely clustered in the downtown area. Routinely check for compliance regarding the condition of the fleet, the distribution of the vehicles, as I just mentioned, and also how quickly the companies can respond to issues that pop up like, hey, 5 of your vehicles are on my private property, please come get them. We make sure that the scooters and the bikes are viable solutions where there are gaps in the transportation network, and we work with stakeholders to address concerns about the program. The current fleet as it stands now is or rather the caps, what the companies can deploy up to is what you're seeing here. So Spin is allowed to have up to 2,800 scooters and up to 150 e-bikes. Lime, we basically combine the seated scooters with the regular scooters. So it's 1,500 scooters for Lime and 500 e-bikes for Lime. Lime is new again to our market as of July of last year. And them bringing 500 e-bikes had a substantial impact on our market. So how we did last year total, we had 1.6 million rides, or over that rather, which represents a 60% increase from the previous year, again showing the impact of twice as many vehicles essentially out there, as well as far more e-bikes than were previously available. However, e-bike trips are still only, less than a tenth of the total scooter trips. Scooters are more popular in general. I personally think that the e-bikes are safer for the riders in general, especially when you consider the condition of some of Baltimore's streets, not just, potholes, but also cobblestones in the Fells Point area, for example. You can see the rest of those statistics for yourself, but the average trip distance being about a little bit over a mile. It's something that's interesting. And note the distribution of the routes. This is a route map on the image there. We'll talk about this more later, but this is actually a far more balanced network of routes occurring in the market than used to be in Baltimore City. And that's something that we're immensely proud of, reaching more folks across the city, basically. In this very stretched graph, you can see the vehicle counts. Of note is that in July of 2024, you can see the major jump in the bikes available. That's the lower line, as well as the scooters available. And that's the result of Lime re-entering our market. And then trip count by vehicle type. So this is the total number of trips over the course of a year. Of course, as expected, in the warmer months, you see way higher usage of both the scooters, that's in orange on the top, and the bikes in that sort of bluish green below. Utilization, also known as is it trips per day per vehicle, is what a TDV is what a lot of companies refer to this as, but that is what it is. It's how many times on average are the vehicles used per day. And this is something that we use to sort of drive decisions around fleet cap increases. If a company wants to put more scooters out on the street, we want to make sure that the ones that are already out there are being in fact utilized. Because of course, one of the things we have to be aware of is these vehicles, when they are not in use, are obstacles, sometimes problematic obstacles in the right of way. So to the extent that they are used more, that is better for the system as a whole. So that utilization is something we look closely at. A project that we recently implemented is allowing any city residents to report a misparked or poorly parked vehicle via 311, as opposed to requiring them to call the company directly themselves. 311 is more responsive than call centers that are usually third-party companies, and also allows me a great deal more visibility into where issues are popping up. I can recognize patterns. I can recognize repeat reports for the same area, and then reach out to the operators and have them work with the rider who is parking poorly to, basically tell them to knock it off and remind them how they can be a better neighbor by parking their vehicle properly. We've had, oh wait, I've got that in another slide actually. Here's just an image of what I get in terms of information. I've anonymized the reporter's information, but this one says scooters have been properly relocated away from the handicap ramp. We get a timestamp for when that has been addressed. These operators have 6 hours from the time of the report to make sure that the vehicle is moved to a proper parking location or removed entirely from the area. So here's 2 examples. This top image is a Lime scooter. It's not incredibly clear why this is a problem other than it's in the middle of a walkway, but this is actually a walkway from a disabled parking lot to a building at Johns Hopkins University. So I'll also do spot audits where I will anonymously report a vehicle as misparked, and I will literally physically check there myself 6 hours later to see if it's been addressed. And then another example below is a spin scooter that is already out of compliance because it's on its side, but even more so because it is blocking the curb cut right there. This is also near the Hopkins campus. Also, if the operators get a report of a misparked scooter and it turns out to be one of those super pedestrian scooters, which if you don't know, there was an operator that left Baltimore's market abruptly and actually did not collect all of their scooters off of our streets. There are still several hundred of them kind of floating around. We are still collecting them. So if our operator notices a Lynx scooter while they're out to retrieve one of their own scooters, because very frequently members of the public are confused about what scooter they are looking at, they will report that and we can go collect it. All right, so a little bit about compliance monitoring. So what you're seeing on the image there are our planning districts. There are 8 of them total. And this is the geography that we're looking at to ensure that the companies are not over concentrating their vehicles in any one area. These companies are chasing the money. So where they would like to put all their vehicles is the central downtown business district and the inner harbor area. Other very high ridership areas, as you can see in the sort of darker blue, are east towards Patterson Park, Brewers Hill, that area, as well as sort of the northern central corridor. So yeah, I make sure that we work with Populous is our data analyzing firm, I guess you would call them. But that is the program I use to see the entire system. And monthly, I make sure that vehicles have not been over concentrated or under concentrated. So no more than 25% in any one district and no less than 5%. I also make sure that at our 12 equity zones, there are at least 4 vehicles every day between the hours of 5 and 9 a.m. at those intersections. One example would be Pennsylvania and North Avenue, for example, or Holland's Market is another one. And those are strategically sort of located either at transportation hubs or in underserved areas where there's gaps in the transportation network. I also look at whether these companies are ensuring that the vehicles do not stay in one place for more than 5 days in a row, regardless of, well, if they're staying in one place, they have not been ridden. So these are vehicles that have not been ridden in 5 days. Those have to get moved to another location. That is another thing I'm checking for with compliance checks. And then the actual in-person vehicle inspections is part of that as well. That's on a monthly basis. I look at 6 vehicles for each operator. Wait, yes, that's right. 3 of the bikes and 3 of the scooters for each operator. And I make sure that those comply with our regulations in terms of operability and appearance. So what I'm looking for during those inspections, on the left side is the operational table. That's what I'm making sure is happening for every bike. If it says note only, that means that's not part of the scoring process. That's just like a informational field for the operator. But I'm making sure that the brakes work. No part of the vehicle where the rider is touching is sharp and could cause a cut. Wheels are inflated if they use air. Bells can be rung. You know, no loose or broken or sharp parts. I consider being able to raise or lower the seat post to be a rideability issue. So I also will ding a company if I'm not able to raise or lower the seat post on a bicycle. Or if I'm not able to end the ride, for example, maybe the vehicle is not recognizing that I have engaged the self-locking mechanism, which is required to end a ride. You know, if I can't end a ride, then it's not rideable for the member of the public. And then on the right side, you've got the appearance table. When I first began, simply having some graffiti on a vehicle was enough for that vehicle to fail an inspection. And what I saw when I first began was a fair amount of vehicles with major operational issues, like this is not safe to ride. So I actually chose to de-emphasize some of the appearance issues by making it have to be 2 of them out of compliance for the vehicle to be failed for the inspection. And why does it matter whether a company's vehicles pass or fail these inspections? Because they can lose, if there's enough failed inspections in a row, they can lose their ability to automatically renew their permit. So for either the distribution of vehicles or the response times for 5-day parking, or the equity zone aspect, or for the vehicle inspections, a company can receive a warning. I have issued warnings to actually both of our operators in the last 7 months. In both cases, it was for the operational condition of the vehicles. And those operators have to pass the next 2 inspections for that warning to fall off. If either of the next 2 inspections results in a failure, that moves them to a second warning. And the third warning is a citation, which comes with fines and the loss of automatic renewal for the permit for the next permit year. So it's real stakes for these companies to make sure that these vehicles are in good condition. And I've been working closely with them to make sure they fully understand exactly what I'm looking for when I go out there on vehicle inspections. Any questions about that? All right, gonna plug right along. So what you see in the image on the top is the 2019 ridership for the system. And for those of you that are familiar with Baltimore, there's this concept of the white L and the black butterfly, which is to say the shape of most white residents in the city falls in like a capital L shape, going north to south along Interstate 83 and then moving east along the harbor. And then the rest of the city is referred to as the back butterfly, like 2 butterfly wings spreading out. Basically the west side and the east side of town. And as you can see in the first year of the program, folks living in those areas weren't really riding the scooters or the e-bikes. However, 5 years later in 2024, you can see a much wider distribution of where these vehicles are being ridden. And that has a lot to do with years of effort on the part of Spin and Lime to educate Baltimore residents about their access programs, as well as just over time, people learning to rely on a system. You know, folks have to see the scooters available every day where they need to go to start to think of it as a reliable transportation alternative to cars, walking, buses, the other modes of travel that people use. There's a lot of other things that could be in play here. You know, we're not exactly sure all the things that made it happen, but we do know what we are trying to do, which is to get the entire city on board with using this service. And it appears based off this information here that that has in fact been successful so far. I would add that the introduction of e-bikes, which for me, and I think for a lot of people, represents a safer, longer distance vehicle. That might be what you're contributing also to some of these longer trips coming in from, you know, the farther northern western part of town, for example, along the Reisterstown Road corridor, which you're seeing there as well. And we do have this map public facing on our Baltimore City DOT dockless page. You can probably scan it from that QR code, but if you just Google search BCDOT dockless, you'll come right to it. It's in the middle of that page. And that will allow you to look at different time periods as well. Something new that Lime is doing with their e-bikes is they've added throttles. So these are now class 2 e-bikes, allowing riders to not have to move their feet whatsoever if they do not want to, which should open up the population of people willing to hop on a scooter to an extent, because you literally can just sit on that seat, use the pedals as foot platforms, and then just push your thumb down to go. Something that we use to try to change people's behavior in the dockless realm is geofencing. And that's just a basically GPS-based area that we draw on our programs. We send it to the operator, they implement it on their end. You can use it to have a zone where the vehicles do not work. That's a no operation zone. You can use it to have a no parking zone where trips cannot be ended. You can use it to slow down the vehicles to, I believe it's 8 miles per hour or 5 miles per hour or so. It's a frustrating crawl if you're used to going the 15 on the scooters. And that's something that we use in around the Inner Harbor, for example. And then you've got an incentive, the parking corrals, which is a discounted preferred parking location where riders get like 20 cents off or 50 cents off for ending their trip in that area. And some of these zones can be combined, as we'll see in a moment. So here's an example of a no operation zone surrounding Camden Yards. This zone shuts down power entirely on the vehicle, and the rider is going to see a red icon and get like a beeping sound, indicating to them that I've gone into the wrong area. They are also by definition a no parking zone because you don't want people ending their ride where the vehicle does not operate. So that is how a no operation zone works. Oh, and if you are setting one of these up for your own jurisdiction, it is better for the company to rely on their own GPS service than for the vehicle to rely on the rider's phone's GPS service. That is something you might want to think about requiring or encouraging. You want better GPS accuracy coming from the vehicle itself and not relying on the rider's, who knows how good the quality of the GPS on their phone is. That will really matter when you're talking about a no operation zone if you're dealing with GPS drift, where the geofence accuracy is questionable, especially in areas with tall buildings, which we have in downtown Baltimore. Slow zone, as you can, it's in the sort of dark gray around the inner harbor, and that slows the vehicle down. Pretty self-explanatory. And the no parking zone, this is the only one for which I have a photo of the interface on the right, showing that red circle with a slash over a P on there in red. And that's where you cannot end a ride. The app will also tell you these things. I would also add the app is the best way to see all of these zones around the city. If you're ever curious for your own edification, just download the app for free if you want, or if you already have it up, pull it up. And when you select a vehicle in the city is when the zones will populate on your app. And then this is a photo of a corral that we have at the West Baltimore MARC train station with a vehicle from each operator inside of it. These are preferred parking areas. Oftentimes negative reinforcement just teaches you what not to do, doesn't teach you what to do. I think corrals are a really important tool for showing folks what to do. We want you to park it here. And so expanding our network of corrals is one of my main goals as a program manager. And that is it. Any questions?
I have a question. That's really impressive change in use pattern between 2019 and 2024. Is there I know you weren't here the whole time, but is there a theory on which of those policies is most critical to that, or are they all contributing? I
have not had the time to do a deep dive. I'm also maybe not the best person to try to suss all of that out. I saw when I really kind of looked at it year to year, I saw a real big jump from 2020 to 2021. So perhaps the pandemic had a big impact in terms of folks in the L not needing to commute to work 5 days a week so much anymore.
Interesting. Yeah.
But I mean, there is definitely big increases in ridership outside the white L. So that doesn't really explain that. This is definitely an opportunity. If anyone knows of a grad student who might be interested in researching this, I would really be interested in trying to get some linear regression analysis on this, try to show me what was most, important. I think in my mind, an early adopter versus just folks getting used to the system and starting to trust it is a big aspect of it as well. Oh, and Meg Young should absolutely speak to this. I did not know you were on the call, Meg. Do you want to take some stabs at what you think happened there?
Yeah, there's annual reports that I think document it pretty well. From 2020 to 2021 was when the equity plan advertisements really went into effect. We were doing a lot of on the ground pop-ups in partnership with the providers at the time. And that was the year that we did a deep dive into the equity zone efficacy. There's a report I don't know if we published, but it's definitely on the DOT share drive that goes into detail about all of the original 20 equity zones. And Johns Hopkins School of Public Health actually just published a research paper on the spread of the vehicles through the equity zones. So that research has been done a little bit. But yeah, I think it was really just the level of compliance that you're continuing to require to those policies that the operators would say, oh, you really expect us to meet these morning deployment requirements and to do these events, and sending them, twice monthly emails and reports on how they were doing meant that those policies were, not just checking a box, but were really followed them closely and made sure we have vehicles across the city and that people knew about them.
Thank you, Meg. I need to get apprised of some of that report you mentioned.
Yeah, I have a question actually. And thank you, Meg, also. How collaborative and supportive have the provider been?
So, I mean, the operators, Spin and Lime, I meet with them weekly, if not more so. Spin has been consistently in this market, I want to say since 2019. Meg, correct me if I'm wrong. They have made they've been compliant enough to get that automatic renewal every year and have been really proactive in finding ways of promoting their access program. They also currently offer the most generous access program. All the city technically requires is a 50% discount. I've seen another source that says 70%, but Spin is actually currently offering 4 free rides of under half an hour or less per day. I do anticipate they'll be adding an unlock fee of 50 cents per ride in the near future. I am not happy about that, but that is not something I can directly control at this time. So I would definitely want to give Spin their flowers for putting a lot of effort and putting some money behind their mouth in terms of like a commitment to serving the city. Lime is offering 70% flat discount across the board for their access program, which is also very generous. I would love for them to be offering the same thing, and that is something that I am working on the operators toward doing, just to make marketing the access program easier for ourselves and for our partner organizations that are working on getting the word out on that.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, Tyler, this is Chris Etoff from Howard County. I have 2 questions. One is an easy one, I think. So are the apps separate for your vendors, or is there any, combined app?
The apps are separate. The vehicles do appear on the Lyft and Uber apps, respectively, for the different operators as well.
Okay. And then the other question is about, I guess, profitability of the providers. Do they give you any information on that? Like, how are they doing?
Yeah, I mean, well, they tell me when I ask them to make the access plan more generous that they can't do that. But I don't have a ton of visibility into their, inner financial information.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's safe to assume they are, at least the ones that are renewing, like Spin, are profitable. They're coming back year to year. But it's still a new industry, and I don't know if they're still requiring themselves to be profitable, or if they give themselves some leeway on that or not.
So as Meg informed me when I first came on, a lot of these companies don't necessarily follow the same profit loss incentives that most companies do by virtue of how they raise their money. There's an idea some of these companies might want to go public, and the number of vehicles on the ground and markets that they are operating in is important for their valuation for that. Something I have noticed is that they don't do a lot of drawing down their vehicles on the street in the winter, which is something I anticipated they would be doing. right? If they're really chasing the money and the scooters aren't getting ridden one time per day, say the scooters are only getting ridden every other day on average, then, why wouldn't you take some of your vehicles off the street and put them in the warehouse just to save on wear and tear and the elements affecting them and all that? They don't really seem to be doing that very much. So that tells me that they're not necessarily, constantly concerned about profit in that way. Meg, would you have more to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, they tend to not really want to share too much about their business models in my experience. And the one thing that they did ask of us was to try to help finance the equity plans if it's important to the city. We had pursued the Better Bike Share partnership to help with that and have Bike More supplement the outreach that they were doing, because that seems to be one of their biggest costs, is paying their employees, to go pick up the scooters, in which that's the only thing I can think of as well. And then reducing the amount of vandalism to their vehicles, basically helping them address hotspots seems to be really helpful. Yeah, I'm surprised they don't take more off the street in the winter, but they definitely are concerned when vehicles disappear altogether, and how that affects their bottom line. But I think the Baltimore market is kind of dealt in tandem with the DC market. Like, DC is one of the money-making cities for all of these companies. So I think the proximity is something that makes them want to operate in Baltimore, as well as all of the research and reporting out that Baltimore City has done about the program, and things like being a model for the equitable use of the scooters is also something that they don't, I think they know it would be not the best press to withdraw from the market. So I think there's a combination of factors keeping them operating. Yeah.
Any other questions?
I have a question, Eric. This is
Go for
Tanya.
it. Go for it.
So I wanted to get just clarification. You use the 311 system to have people report problems, and then you contact the operators and tell them to fix the problem, or do you have Baltimore City staff fix the problem?
So one of the biggest lifts with getting 311 integrated into the dockless program was, how do the operators know when someone calls 311 to make a report? So we call that a service request. And essentially what we did was we built city email identities for the operators so that they can log in to the system themselves. They get an email for every service request that comes in, alerting them to where the issue is, and then they can log into the system themselves, see the location, make their response, and then close it out when they've addressed the issue.
Okay, that sounds pretty good. And then you also get that notification too, so you're aware.
That's right. Yeah. So the big benefit for me is I get all that information. I can download it and look at it and notice, hey, we've got 3 reports for the same intersection. What's going on here? What's the nature of the complaint? Is it a legitimate complaint, or is this just someone that doesn't like to look at a scooter outside
Right.
their house, which does happen?
Yeah.
And is this operator reaching out to the rider whose behavior is contributing to the issue, and can they communicate to that person they need to change their behavior?
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? Before we move on to the next person? That was great, Tyler. We appreciate it. Very impressive.
Thanks,
Scale.
everybody. I'll drop into the chat a link to an article that was written about the change in the white owl versus black butterfly aspect of it as well.
Yeah, and thank you, Charlene, for posting the Hopkins study that about the equity zones. Great. Well, yeah, thanks again. We're going to move on to the next presentation. which is on the Patapsco Regional Greenway, Stony Run Trail update. We have, I think, Anna Marshall here from BMC.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Yeah, so let me just share my screen, pull up a presentation. Can you all see this screen? Make sure it's bigger. There we go. Can you all see that?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Let me just minimize the speakers here. Okay. All right, thank you all for having me today. I'm Anna Marshall. I am a senior environmental planner at Baltimore Metropolitan Council. And today I'll just be going over our most recently completed 30% design trail for the Patapsco Regional Greenway, which is the Stony Run Trail. Just a quick overview about the PRG. So it's a planned 40-mile greenway connecting Sykesville, Carroll County to the Baltimore Inner Harbor. And it'll go through the Patapsco Valley and Anne Arundel, Baltimore, and Howard counties. And parts of this 10 to 12 foot wide greenway are already constructed and open for use. And then the plan is to continue working on different segments of this greenway, and we currently have one on working on now at the Cherry Hill route in the city. So the project timeline for the Stony Run Trail, we had 3 public comment periods and meetings over the course of 2024. So our first one was in February 2024, and that was open house format to introduce the public to the project and gather feedback on what they were looking for in a shared use path. And also we wanted to, learn about their concerns and incorporate any feedback we could into the plan. So then with that information, the team consisting of BMC as well as Howard and Anne Arundel County and DNR and our steering committee members. So I'm sure a lot of you, I've seen your names on the call, so thank you for being on our steering committee, but we worked with A. Morton Thomas, which is a consulting firm, and they helped with the engineering of this project. And so they worked to develop 4 alternative alignments. And so in May 2024, we presented that and gathered feedback from the public, and I'll go through that in a little bit. And then our final meeting was recently in December, and this was to present the preferred alternative and wrap up the 30% design. The public feedback was incorporated into our decision making, and we heard a lot that it was important to connect to existing trails. It was important to be inclusive for people of all ages and abilities, to limit on-road trail segments, and also provide barriers to separate the shared use path from the road. And these are the 4 alignment options that we had, and the original alignment is shown in this dark green color, and alternatively we had the stream alignment, which is shown here in blue, and that kind of ran all the way down from historic Elk Ridge and then into the Patapsco Valley along the Stony Run stream, and then connects over at the end here to the BWI trail. And the utility alignment is this orange color, and this kind of used the existing right-of-ways, both the BGE gas line and Colonial pipeline, to kind of as an alternate alignment here. And then the final option was this race road alignment. And this was developed mainly from feedback from our public meetings from avid bicyclists in the neighborhood who use this road and route already as a connection to the BWI trail. So those were our 4 alignments. And the public was really interested in pursuing the stream alignment. We had 68% of people who took our survey and commented that they really liked this option. And then we had another mix of people who said that they really did not like the race road route. And that's understandable because that really didn't limit any on-road segments, and it was more for, not for the average bike user. So that wasn't preferred. So that was nixed as an alternative. And then the stream alignment had some issues, being that down in this green area is a wetlands of special state concern. And so a lot of the trail there would have had to be boardwalked, which adds to the cost. And so we kind of went with a hybrid option between the stream alignment and the utility alignment, which is shown here on this map as the preferred alignment. And it eliminates the dangerous section of Furnace Avenue, the on-road section here. So the original one connected to this PRG Elkridge to Guinness segment at Furnace Avenue, and then came down here. But for this preferred alignment, we're using Railroad Avenue, which is a less trafficked residential neighborhood street. So it's more comfortable for a shared road experience for bikers as well. And we also have part of this stream alignment utilized here that came down and goes in the natural setting. And it minimizes environmental impacts and connects to residential commercial properties, and uses this colonial pipeline right-of-way easement here to connect back up to Ridge Road, and then on Corporate Center Drive down to Stony Run Road, and then the connection to the BWI trail. I'll just run through a little bit of each section here. So going from Elkridge down to the trail, BWI trail, the dotted line indicates when it is an on-road segment. So looking at Railroad Avenue here, this is the existing Railroad Avenue, and this is a precedent image of what the trail might look like on Railroad Avenue. We're going to do the Sharrows in this section, just because it is a less trafficked road, and this will provide a less costly way to have a shared use trail here. And then going down into Furnace Avenue. So Furnace Avenue is pretty constrained as it's very narrow and kind of high trafficked, and there's utility poles on either side. So it's pretty narrow. There is this existing sidewalk here, but it is very small, not great for biking. And so the precedent image here, we would have a separated shoulder trail running along Furnace Avenue. And this is some renderings the team provided. So we would have a cross from, I guess, let's see, west to east over this Elkridge Furnace Inn parking lot. And yeah, so that would provide a connection there with limiting the on-road segment. And then going into the Patapsco River area. So this is kind of the existing conditions of it, and the precedent image is showing how we would cross the stream there. It's this deep run river crossing. So we would have a bridge over, and you would also get to enjoy nice views of the Patapsco River and be in the river valley. So it'd be a nice off-road experience. And this is again a rendering showing the preferred alignment. And then looking here at the Furnace Avenue crossing, this is an existing Google Maps image showing that it's a very narrow road, and we would have to have this kind of trail crossing here with a crosswalk that would connect onto Maintenance Road, which is the next segment. And Maintenance Road is an existing kind of trail for utilities and Amtrak, and it currently looks like this, and we would just have an off-road multi-use trail in the natural setting as what it could look like. Again, this is just another existing picture and what it could look like. This is a rendering showing another bridge crossing here of the Stony Run. And then looking next at the Colonial Pipeline right of way. So this is an existing picture looking east, and this is a precedent image of what it could look like there. Ridge Road has some new development going up along it, and has wide enough shoulders, which makes it a little bit better than Furnace Avenue. And we would have a off-road trail here kind of shown in this precedent image. And this is a rendering showing what it might look like. And Corporate Center Drive has the MDOT headquarters along it, and this is existing, and we would have a separated shoulder trail. And then finally, the Stony Run Road connecting to the BWI trail. This is existing, looking east, and we would also have a separated shoulder trail here connecting to the existing BWI trail. And yeah, so that's an overview of the Stony Run Trail. If you have any more questions, you can reach out to me or any of our team here, Charlene, Mariam, Keith. We're all here working on PRG projects. So yeah, happy to take any questions.
Were you guys able to get approval from BG&E to use their areas? Like, did you get their buy-in already?
Like for the maintenance road?
Yeah.
Or...
Yes.
Yeah, so the maintenance road, it's not only for BGE, it was also for it's in the Patapsco Valley State Park land, so it's not owned by BGE, but yeah, they were supportive of this.
And Anna, this is Tanya. Where did you guys end up with the discussions with Colonial Pipeline and the developer?
Yeah, so thanks, Tanya. That's another important piece. So that let me go back to that slide. So the land next to this easement here is going to be developed for new residential development. And so we were working with the developer and attorneys for that property, and they were all very supportive of this trail and having the connection for the new residential property to the BWI trail. That's an important connection in this community. And at the moment, I mean, besides having their support and That's all I know at the moment, unless, yeah, there's anything else. Keith knows if you know anything, but yeah, they were supportive and happy to work with us.
And I guess, did you ever get through to Colonial Pipeline though? Or was that, I can't remember if that ended up being an issue still or not.
I don't think it was an issue. Yeah, I think we had connection with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anna, can you remind us, this Stony Run phase, what jurisdictions does it include?
Sure, it's Howard County and Anne Arundel County. So the section that connects to the Elkridge to Guinness Trail in the north, that's in Howard County, and then the maintenance road section down is in Anne Arundel County.
So the counties would be taking this over after 30%, is that the understanding?
Yes. Yep.
All right. Does BMC assist with funding at all after 30% or no? I know it's managed by the counties, but
Yeah, after 30%, we typically BMC doesn't typically help with funding, but
maybe I can help Anna.
Yeah, sure.
MPOs we're using federal, what are called PL or planning funds for the 30% design. We are not allowed to go beyond 30% with planning funds, and that is all that we receive.
got it. Thanks, Regina. All right. Well, that's pretty exciting. Thanks a lot for joining us, Anna. Welcome to stay. Like, any other questions for her before we move on? All right. Well, the next presentation is brief. I'm just going to introduce Miriam, who's representing BMC on the Bike to Work Week project. I guess Charlene has a presentation to present as well. It's going to be shared by Charlene, is that right?
It'll be shared by Charlene, yeah. Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Charlene. Happy to announce Bike to Work Week is rolling around again soon. I just wanted to give an update on that. So, what is Bike to Work Week? It's a nationwide event. It's held each May to celebrate biking to work or to anywhere. You don't have to bike to work to participate in Bike to Work Week. Get a t-shirt, show your support. And it's all about celebrating biking as an affordable, healthy, and eco-friendly way to travel. We're lucky in Baltimore. We have support from the mayor on this. We have support from the city, and we have support from all the regional jurisdictions here. We always have a great turnout all around the region and from everyone on this call. So Bike to Work Week 2024, just to give another recap, over 1,400 people registered by May 13th, and there was 21 celebratory events, and this in Baltimore City and all the counties in the region, and 24 t-shirt pickup locations also spread around. And here's some pictures from the events. Bike to Work Week 2025 is coming up, so please save the date. It'll be Monday, May 12th to Sunday, May 18th. You can scan this QR code to sign up for notifications or go to biketoworkmd.com. Friday, May 16th will be our special day with the pit stops and events. That is basically it. Just wanted to give an update that is coming in to save the date. Thank you.
Thanks so much. I know several folks on this call are probably helping out in their respective jurisdictions.
Yeah, there's always great support regionally.
Any comments or questions on Bike to Work Week? All right. Well, we have a shorter meeting than usual this time. We're gonna now move on to the roundtable discussion, which is typically how we close out the meetings. So this is where we go around the group and find out what's going on in each member's jurisdiction. And we always start with Annapolis. I'll say what I know, and then Will, if you have anything to add, please go ahead. Not much new on our end from last meeting, but we're just continuing to press ahead on several capital projects that we're trying to break ground on either this summer or the fall. The West East Express is the big one. Has quite a bit of federal funding that we hope stays in place. We also have a smaller project on our Hilltop Lane corridor that is not is locally funded, so more straightforward. And we're trying to get the College Creek Connector project off the ground as kind of a design build project. We're also working on a trail signage initiative. And Tanya, I haven't forgotten, I need to meet with you about that. We haven't gotten too far on it yet. So I'll set up a meeting so we can coordinate. And I think that's it on my end.
Yeah, I can very quickly talk about the press conference that we're having that's coming up, where we're showcasing the two new e-buses that we electric buses that we acquired in the city, and we're taking it as an opportunity to also talk about other alternative modes, everything that's not gas powered or diesel powered. And so we'll have the bikes out, we'll have our 3-wheel assisted trike, as well as our electric Blazer out. And we plan on giving away helmets. Bird Bike and Scooter is also going to be there, showcasing, and hopefully, per the earlier conversation, we'll have an opportunity to get some discounts and opportunities to pull some people from some of the more separated and marginalized communities in Annapolis. So we're looking forward to that. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Will. Move on to Anne Arundel County. Tanya.
Hi guys. Yeah. Not much more to report as well from our end. As we head into grant writing season, it would be helpful, I think, if we could somehow collaborate on ways to reword some of these things that we need to reword, if that is making sense, in terms of biking and climate and all of those things. How do we word the applications so that they are not rejected? I don't know, it just popped into my head as we head into grant season. Also, I wanted to point out that our Safe Routes to School safety training program is in the school systems. I think I've mentioned it before. It wrapped up this month, and it was once again wildly accepted. Appreciated by the students and the schools. And so we are once again going to expand it to include pedestrian safety for K-2, and it would be a week-long program in the schools. So we're hoping to get some grant funding again from the Maryland Highway Safety Office for that. Yeah, I don't really have much more to report on. Oh, I will say that we are reviewing our bike share because we have Bird, and it probably is slightly different than being in the city of Annapolis because it's, suburban world, and in the county is so wide. So they are not really expanding to our liking. So we're thinking about either doing an RFP, but I liked what I heard earlier from Tyler about all of the the permitting and all of that. So I don't know. I'm going to take that back to my superiors and talk more about it. That's it. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Tanya. Baltimore City? No, you may not have somebody from Baltimore City today. Tyler left.
John Leishman gave me some information to
Okay.
announce, and I'll drop that in the chat as well. So they, as a part of the 60% design process, for the Washington Street Road area, they're asking for community members to complete a survey that I dropped in the chat link to, which asks questions about safety and use. So safety, how safe do people feel traveling on Washington Street, and for what purposes do they travel on it? So the survey is open till March 28th, and they'll use that information from the survey to finalize the 60% design plans for that project. So that's all I have for the city, unless.
Yep, I'm still here.
Yeah.
I know that my colleague Shayna would be upset with me if I did not also share our survey for near misses in Baltimore City. If you have not already told everyone you know who lives in the city about this survey, you are doing a bad job. Now, please let people know about it. We're really going to use this to help inform planning. So
Tyler, does that have a closing date for the survey, or is it kind of open?
I think it's open sort of indefinitely
Okay.
for now, is my understanding.
Got it. Thank you, Tyler. Baltimore County. No, if we have anybody from Baltimore County. Oh, yeah.
Yep, I'm here.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. It's Jessie. We got a couple projects that we're getting ready to complete 60% design on by the end of the spring of this year. That would be our West-East Trail in Parkville and 2 segments of our Northeast Trail in Overlea. So they'll be getting wrapped up here in the spring. We also received a TAP grant for our Bloomsbury Crossing project, which is an ag-grade crossing in Catonsville at the Shortline Trail. So we're getting geared up with the state for that one. Also got our 2 segments of the Tabasco Regional Greenway, the Elkridge to Guinness, and then the Baltimore Highlands, which we've been working with Charlene on, which is pretty much wrapped up. So that's pretty exciting. 30% design on that, which takes us up to the city line, which is the next segment, which is the Cherry Hill, I believe, if I'm saying that right. Okay, Charlene's nodding, so I must be saying it right. Okay. Also got our Red Run Trail out in Owings Mills, working towards 50% design on that. And the last thing I wanted to bring up is our Old Court Complete Street. That will be Baltimore County's first complete street project that we're doing. I'm not the project manager for that, but Mitchell Phillips is, and he's on the call, but had a public meeting in February, got a lot of good feedback from the public. They're really excited, and we're pressing forward with feasibility on that. So that's what we got going on.
Cool. Thank you. Now we have Claire, I think, from Carroll County here.
Hi, yeah, we are working on planning and feasibility for bike ped network in Banksburg. We are meeting with our consultant in NDOT later this week to discuss concepts. And then in April, we're taking the concepts out for public comment, like a virtual open house type thing. That's all I have right now.
All right. It's good enough. Thank you. Anyone from Harford County here? Okay. Move on to Howard County. Is Chris and Pat are both here?
Hi, Chris is here. So a couple updates from Howard County. We were talking about scooters earlier. We have a scooter permitting program in Howard County that we're going to release soon. Hopefully by the end of this week, we'll get it out for scooter operators to look at and apply for a permit to operate in Howard County if they desire to do so. We'd be looking to get them launched by June 1st is what that's what we're aiming for. And then we're also working on updating our bicycle master plan. We have a Howard County bicycle master plan, but it's around 10 years old now. So we are doing an update later in 2026. We're going to start in July and get a consultant on board to help us with that. So that process will go the fall of 2025. Sorry, I might have said 26 there, but fiscal year 26. So that's starting in the fall of 2025 and going into the spring of 2026 for our bicycle master plan update. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve, Queen Anne's County.
Sure, thanks. We are continuing to work on the 2-mile extension of the South Island Trail. That's from US 50 down to Mattapeak Professional Park. And that's a 4-phase plan in various stages. Some's under construction, some parts are under design, and 1 phase we're going to work on designing in-house. So that's moving forward. And then we're very happy with the progress of the Cross County Connector Trail feasibility study that we're working with BMC on. That's about a 2.5-mile extension. And we just looked at adding another segment to that to get to the town of Queenstown. Working on that feasibility study to get from kind of the Kent Narrows to Queenstown, and very happy with the progress there, and that'll be wrapping up this summer. So those are the 2 main projects we have going on. So thanks.
Great, thank you, Steve. Anybody from MDE here?
Hey, Catherine's here from MDE. I don't think I have an update for you all today. Thank you.
All right, not a problem. MDP, I don't think we have anybody from MDP here. We'll go on to MHSO. I think Cynthia's here.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to drop a link into the chat. The Maryland Highway Traffic Safety Summit is coming up in April 29th. We are still accepting our reservations. So make sure if you haven't signed up and registered for the event that you do so. It's going to be at the same place it was last year at the BWI Hilton. And all the information, the agenda's up and posted already for the summit on that website. And then once you're on our website, instead of dropping a bunch of different links in, for those who don't know, per law, we have to have Vision Zero meetings, and all of our Vision Zero meetings are posted for the year. The next one is coming up in, I believe it's about 3 weeks. There will be a focus on reviewing with SHA the mandates that they're supposed to do with the fatality infrastructure reviews. So that information is up for you to log in if you're interested in listening to those Vision Zero meetings. The first one was recorded and is online as well. And then most of you know, but we are in the process of updating to the next iteration of the SHSP. So we've had our public meetings in February and continuing to take information through this year to get that next one up and going. So again, through the links through our website, you should be able to find that if you're not already receiving emails from us. There's a contact form under the SHSP if you want to receive them directly. And we are just working on quite a bit. So if there's anything that you need help with, just let me know. Thanks.
Thank you. MTA, I think we have Brittany here.
No relevant updates for MTA. Thank you for all the county updates, though.
No problem. SHA. Anyone from SHA? Okay. M.CSO. I know it's Meg and Francine here.
Yes, I'm not sure if Meg is still on, but I'll be happy to update. it's quite a list of updates. So the Complete Streets implementation plans are now live, and I will put in the chat box the website for that. Also, we've launched a new micromobility website, so I hope you all check that out as well. I know there's discussion about the grants today, and the grant windows are opening in April, and so that's April through May. And I hope that in the process of applications that you'll look to the sidewalk data collaboration, One Maryland, One Center line to help support some of those efforts in your applications. And tomorrow is our quarterly first of the year BPAG PED subcommittee. So hopefully all of you have received an invitation to join us. The agenda was attached to the invitation, and that's at 10 o'clock tomorrow. And speaking of the sidewalk collaboration, data collaboration, our brown bag is in about a little over a week on the 31st at noon. And we'll be discussing an agenda will be coming out, but we'll be discussing some of the people who are entering data, what they are finding in terms of entering the data, and updates on those jurisdictions who are participating in entering data. And I will share with you that we have now 12,000 sidewalks in the database, which is pretty awesome. Also, priority letters. There's a new process and an online form which breaks out some different types of projects like multimodal, and the deadline was extended to May 15th. So that's important as well. And we are going to be launching monthly webinars. So April's webinar will be about the Trails Plan. It'll be April 3rd. And so keep posted on that. And of course, I know there's been discussion today about Bike to Work Week in May. And so we'll be also providing more information about a webinar on that as well. So I don't know if anybody has any questions, but that's our list of all the updates that we have.
Great. Thank you, Francine. Anything else, Meg?
Francine got it all. I'm gonna put all of those in the chat though, because I have them pulled up. Francine.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, last but not least, BMC, anything else?
Yes, I'll start and then I'll pass it off to Marian. Miriam, sorry. So I emailed BPAG members and I'll email you guys after this just as a reminder, but we're soliciting spring active transportation count locations. So if you have a location where you'd like bike, ped, scooter, or a combination of counts to be done, just submit that request to me and we can get that process started of trying to just, pick locations for the BMC Active Transportation Count Program. So the counts, as a reminder, can be used for various purposes, including evaluating potential long-term counter sites, assessing volume change before and after infrastructure improvements, and measuring exposure with crash histories, as well as supporting safety assessments and plenty more. So we're looking forward to seeing if you guys submit locations. We also, BMC just launched our Getting There survey. So the Baltimore Regional Transportation Board wants to better understand people's transportation needs through the Getting There survey. So we'll use this survey results to identify transportation needs and to inform the upcoming long-range transportation plan. Participants can also join paid focus groups if they share their contact info at the end of the survey. So I'll drop that link into the chat. Oops. And that's all I had, so I'll pass it off to Miriam if she's available.
Yeah. The main thing that I have to present today is that we have kicked off design for the Cherry Hill segment of the Patapsco Regional Greenway. We are accepting comments online through April 14th, and we're having our first public meeting on March 24th. So that's next Monday at the Cherry Hill Library from 5 to 6:30. It'll be an open house style format, so you can come in whenever suits you. I'm dropping the website in the chat, so would love to hear what you think of this trail in this location, what ideas you have for like what barriers may come up to building it here, and for you to spread the word about this comment period to anyone you know who might be interested. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Miriam. Well, we're at the point in the meeting where we have time for other business, if there is any. Is anybody joining us that has something to share, or anybody on the BPAG? All right. Not unusual. Well, with that, I guess our meeting comes to a close. The next meeting will be Wednesday, May 21st, 2025. Same place. I appreciate everybody joining today and look forward to seeing you then.
Thank
Thanks so
you.
much. All right.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Thanks a lot.